Is our attention span getting shorter or is something else going on? Hi, I'm Robin Ryback. I'm from New York City. I'm a sci-fi and multi-genre writer. I'm a writing coach, and previously I was director of data management for a large organization. Stephen?
And hi, I'm Stephen Oram. I'm from London. I'm a speculative fiction writer, applied science fiction practitioner, and previously I headed up a UK government policy team. So welcome to Our Data, Our Future, which is a shortcast with big ideas. Um, it's a series of 5 to 10 minute dialogues where Robin and I will discuss different aspects of data, both now and in the future, from each of our perspectives. And whilst we might not always agree, that's right, yeah. What we do hope, though, is that you find it interesting and inspiring, and that you keep the conversation going by commenting in the comments bit below. Obviously, you can find out more about us by following us on Substack. So this is our third episode, Attention Span and Technology Overload. So is our attention span getting shorter, or is there something else going on? Robin, what do you think?
I thank you, Stephen. I think our attention span is definitely getting shorter. And I think so, and in my own experience, it is true because we are now constantly being barraged and pinged by our devices. And what happens is we don't know the difference between, our minds don't know the difference between an emergency and a cute little meme. So every time we get pinged, if we're in the middle of a thought, if we're in the middle of writing, we get pinged, oh, what's this? Oh, what's that? And some people say that it's a dopamine high. Some people say it's excitement, and I'm challenging that and wondering, is that really dopamine or is that anxiety producing, and is that taking away our capacity to have our own quote output, our own thinking for longer than just a few seconds, sort of mocking or mimicking the way our own devices work. In a way, I believe we have become our devices. Stephen?
Okay, yeah, well, it's interesting. So I'm going to take a slightly different angle to you. So I'm not disagreeing with everything you said there, but I wonder whether our attention span is actually getting shorter. And so I know King's College London have done some research that says our perception is that our attention span is getting shorter. Microsoft did some research which was about 10, 13 years ago, subsequently debunked and withdrawn around that. And as far as I could see, all the researchers that I could find, the academics, were saying we don't know because we haven't done any proper research on this. So I'm kind of on the fence a bit, and I wonder whether actually what's going on is the way our brains are working around attention and all the rest of it is actually evolving, and we're changing the way we're interacting with the world, but it's not undermining our ability to pay attention to things and to have long thoughts. It's just and yeah, I think it's, I don't know. I am on the fence. Is it evolve? Is it just different, or as our attention span? So yeah, I don't know. What's your reaction to
Well, I
that?
mean, I can talk from my experience, and we can only talk from our own experience. Look, I remember a time, and many people who are listening to this are going to remember a time, not everybody will, where we didn't have devices. And am I idealizing this, or is this true? That I remember a time where you could wake up on a weekend, there were no devices, things, things were slower, meaning that your thought process um, could be more deliberate, or you could take a train of thought and follow it better because you had the time, you had all the
Yeah,
time in the world in a way. Um,
and I
and
think, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, go on. No,
and
I
I was
mean,
just,
After you.
I was just going to say, I was just going to say that I think that we have the difference now is that we are living our lives more externally, and I remember sort of an internalization or an internality of thinking that we don't have now.
Yeah. So I wouldn't disagree with that. I think there's the constant interruption, the fear that you're either missing out on something,
Mhm.
all that. I would completely agree with that. Um, I think there's something around boredom as well in this, in that being bored can be quite a creative thing, or can be the
Yes,
beginning of something creative.
yes,
Uh, it's very hard to be bored, properly bored now. In that there's always something you can look at and something that can come your way. So I'd agree with that. But I wasn't around at the time, but I wonder whether when pop music came in, was there a kind of, oh, they can't pay attention for more than 4 minutes now to music, blah blah blah, or magazines. We used to flick through magazines, looking at the headlines, not really paying attention. I think there was a lot of things going on, anyhow, where we were kind of filling in time and just flicking through things, which is the equivalent of flicking through kind of social media. So I think you're right in that the nub of this is that you're being distracted all the time, and you have to make a conscious effort not to be distracted. And I think from that King's College research, they were basically saying people find that is quite anxiety making, that kind of stopping, looking, something might be going on, but I'm not going to look. I'm going to think. So I think I'm not disagreeing with you, and I just kind of think it's a bit nuanced. And yeah, I don't know where that might. I don't know where that takes your thoughts.
well, I'm going to pick up on a word that you used, which is boredom. And, you know, I think it's very hard to tolerate boredom for many people. Certainly for me, I mean, I was always a bored kid. I was a bored child. So, and it's sort of a relief to not have to be bored and to always have, entertainment or whatever. And obviously, I'm saying that there's a downside to that. I think, again, using the word capacity, we've lost our capacity for boredom, and boredom leads to thinking about things in different ways, letting our minds wander. And I don't think we allow ourselves as much to let our minds wander because our minds are fixated on important and not important incoming data.
Yeah, and I think also I don't know, on a positive, I wonder whether we're, as a society, we're less prepared to tolerate boredom. And we're
Yeah,
actually, if you're sitting around a conversation at a table, wherever that might be, and you're bored, people get out their phones and start doing something. There's a kind of, I've got an alternative sitting here. I don't have to get up and leave the room to change this situation. So how much was going on inside people previously of like, well, actually, I'm just really bored and I've kind of switched off, but I appear to be present.
yeah. But now we don't
Um,
even have to pretend.
yeah, yeah. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
I don't.
Depends
Right,
on the situation and all
right,
the rest of it. Yeah.
right. But I mean, I do know that generationally, I've heard that people with children, do complain, hey, stop looking at your phone, where, whatever. And so, yeah, and the people who have been, who've grown up with the, uh, the, the devices and the technology, it's not an issue and it's not a problem. So,
Yeah.
you have sort of the dueling, not the warring, but the uh, dueling mindsets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a classic generational thing, isn't it? Whatever it is, you look at a generation that comes after, and you think their behavior is the same. If I was behaving in that way, I would be rude because of my upbringing.
Right?
They are not necessarily being rude because
That's right.
of they've grown up with the technology. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of, I don't know whether it's strayed from attention span, but it just, I think there's a lot of nuance in this, and there's a lot of kind of things to kind of go outwards from. more than just a kind of standard attention span is decreased. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Right. And I guess the last thing that I would say is, boy, I hope people stuck with it through this whole 7 to 10 minutes. Hope you all found this interesting enough to stay with it and not get distracted by your pings and dings.
Excellent.
All right. So thank you.
Thank you.